Wondering how you can refine your content distribution strategy? Well, you are not alone because I get asked a lot of questions about content distribution. Namely, what is it? But also, how can I do it better? Hi, my name is Taylor and I'm one of the founders here at NG. And in this video, I want to help you understand how you can refine your content distribution strategy as a small business owner who's needing to do it themselves. So the first question that I get asked all of the time is, how often should I review and update my content distribution strategy? Now, I really recommend that you do this on a monthly basis. And around here, we celebrate KPI Day, which is the first day of the month. And that's the day that we go and we look at the past month's marketing metrics. Now, when it comes to your content distribution strategy, I really encourage you to look at things, your numbers on that monthly cadence, like your insights and your metrics, because those numbers are going to be the things that help drive your decision making in the short term and the long term. Now, if when you're looking at your numbers, you see that things are working, then yeah, you don't need to make any significant changes to your content distribution strategy. But if the numbers show you that, hey, you're not getting as much traffic as you want, or you just feel like you could maybe push things to do a better job, then making some adjustments to things like your posting times, your posting frequency, the hooks that you're writing with the smaller pieces of content that you're going out there and redistributing are all good ideas of how you can start to refine your content distribution strategy over time. But when push comes to shove, the best practice is for you to also do a quarterly review. So every 90 days, you want to take a look at not just your content distribution strategy, but kind of like, what is your marketing doing overall? And then absolutely on an annual basis, because then you have a year's worth of data to look at to help you make really smart decisions about how you might do this better in the future. Next up is the question, what are the signs that I should be looking out for that tell me that I need to refine my content distribution strategy? And this is all about your numbers, all about those KPIs that I just really recommended you look at on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, and an annual basis. Now, when you are looking at those numbers and you can see things like engagement is dropping, or conversions are low, or click-throughs aren't happening, or you're just spending way too much time distributing content, then it's time to make some changes. But in addition to the numbers, you should also just trust your gut a little bit, right? Your intuition is there to guide you, and the numbers are there to then confirm or reaffirm or deny what your gut is sort of telling you. But if something really feels off, then please go ahead and make an adjustment to your content distribution strategy. Next up is, how can I repurpose content to save myself time? And this one is easy for me. It's start with the biggest piece of content that you need to create. Now, for some folks, that's writing a blog post. For others, that's a YouTube video. And for some of you, it's going to be podcasts. But all of those things are the hard part of creating content because they take the most planning, they take the most time to create and produce and edit, and then finally get published. So always start with that big piece of content. Then from there, you absolutely should be taking that long form piece of content and breaking it up into smaller chunks, smaller pieces of content that fit on different marketing channels like Instagram, like Facebook, like Pinterest, like all of these places. And so when you're doing that, if we take a blog post as an example, one of my favorite things to do is to straight up copy the introduction that I wrote for a blog post and use that as the caption for the first Instagram post that I'm going to share, saying like, hey, look at this new blog post that I've got. Then I also in the future will use each of the sections, right? Like section 1 was about this part of the topic. Section 2 was about this part of the topic. And those become their own Instagram posts as well. You can even then take the topics just without the explanation, just the headlines of each section, and create a carousel post, right? Like you can get so many pieces of content from one blog post. Now, when it comes to YouTube, Clipping things down for things like Reels and YouTube Shorts is a great idea. But also, you can embed your YouTube videos into your blog posts. That's exactly what I'm doing with this one. There is a blog post on NG's blog all about how to refine your content distribution strategy. Now, for podcasts, what you can do is clip out videos if you're doing a video podcast or sound bites for things like Reels. But you can also take those like heavy hitter, like pull quotes and turn them into carousels like graphics, or just post them on places like Threads. But the other thing that you can do with a podcast is you can take the transcript and then you can turn it into a blog post, which is also a really smart way of taking one piece of content and redistributing it on another. And the last question that I get asked all the time is, how do I figure out if I should add a new channel to my content distribution strategy? And when it comes to this, we are talking about marketing campaigns, right? Like a targeted and time-bound marketing experiment that you want to do. So I suggest that you do this experiment for about 90 days to test out new channels and see if Pinterest is a new good channel for you to use, or YouTube Shorts is a new channel that you might want to fold into your strategy. But give it a good chunk of time, because if you only give it a couple weeks, or even if you only give it a month, it might not be enough time for you to see if you're really going to gain any sort of traction. So in NG, you can use the marketing campaign tool to create a marketing campaign where you can track certain metrics. You can set targets for yourself so you know whether or not you're hitting the sort of traction that you want in order to say, hey, I'm going to commit to this for the long term. And so that's the really important piece of this, is tracking some numbers to figure out if it's worth it to add it, because it is going to be additional effort, even if you're still just repurposing content. But in the end, you want to make sure that it's worth it and that it's driving traffic to your website, because that's what content distribution is all about. So I hope this helped get the wheels spinning in terms of how you can refine your content distribution strategy. And if you want more tips, be sure to read the full blog post, or at least skim the headlines at ng.co.